My name is Laurits Kjærgaard, analyst at ABG in Copenhagen. I would like to welcome Group Director and the CFO, Kåre V, who will give a 20-minute walkthrough of the equity story of North Media, followed by a 5-minute Q&A. Thank you for being on the call, Kåre.
Thank you, Laurits. I'm glad to be here, and welcome to this introduction to North Media. As Laurits just said, my name is Kåre V, and I'm based here in Copenhagen. I would, of course, have loved to come to Stockholm, but since we're not really able to travel these days, I'm very happy we can do this online instead. If I should start by giving you a brief introduction to North Media, you could easily say that North Media is mostly FK distribution and then a number of other small businesses. FK distribution has been around since 1965 and is a really startup where everything was handled singly by our founder back in those days. But actually there's more to it than that. And can we go to slide 3, please? Because what we really do is that we provide customers to our customers. And that's really what FK distribution, which is the majority of our business, do when they, with a more traditional analog distribution of leaflets and newspapers to 2.3 million Danish households, covers the whole of Denmark. That's the majority of our business and has been around, as I said, since 1965. But we have a number of other activities also that also provide customers to our customers. FK distribution also has a digital advertising platform which has a number of monthly users as well. And we are the market leader in BoligPortal, which provides house hunters, or puts them in contact with the landlords that want to rent out an apartment. And we have Aktier, another digital service that provides, puts employers and job seekers in connection with each other. We also have a service, Lead Supply, that put banks in connection with borrowers. And we have ABGSC, which actually provides a digital access to caregivers, couriers in connection with households. So what we really do is we are connecting the business community with the consumers in a various set of ways. And we, in that sense, provide platforms and channels. We provide customers to our customers. Slide 4, please. What also characterizes North Media is that we are a high volume business. Everything we do is about high volume because it's in the high volume that you can actually continuously, year by year, improve your efficiency and improve your margins. In that sense, as we put on the slide in the green bubble, we handle large volumes in quick, uniform and safe operations at low unit cost. This goes for everything we do, and it's very fundamental for how we think. So when FK distribution handles 25 million leaflets a week, it's high volume business. We have 10,000 distributors. We have 18,000 routes. It's high volume. These 10,000 distributors work for us in average for a year. So you can say we have 10,000 new employees coming in to our system every year. And we have 1.5 person in our payroll department. So it's all about managing and controlling your systems and your processes when you deal with high volume businesses. BoligPortal provides more than 100,000 lettings. So they put 100,000 house hunters and landlords together every year. That's more than all the real estate agents do in a year in Denmark. Aktier provides more than 30,000 job placements, and we also provide more than 30,000 loans in 11 countries in lead supply. And ABGSC, where we are only getting started, we have provided the opening of 8 million doors with 33,000 users in 2019. So it's all about big volume and keep improving the margins and your efficiency and the processes. Next slide, please. 5. What also characterizes North Media is that we are long-term. We don't hunt the next quarter. We hunt the long-term value creation, building up of sustainable, profitable businesses. So in anything we do, we are very focused on optimization and the profits. And we have been able to improve profits quite nicely over the past years. And when we started this year, 2020, we also thought that we would be able to improve earnings furthermore compared to 19. As I'll come back to now, we believe it will be more or less on par. Another thing that also characterizes North Media is that we have a very strong capital base. And this is something very, very important for us. And it comes with 3 reasons why. One thing is that we want to be flexible. We want to be flexible to run after the opportunities that arise in this media market that is transforming. We want to have the flexibility to run after these and develop these opportunities or develop opportunities ourselves. The second thing is that we want to be independent. We don't want to be independent on banks. We don't want to be forced to, when we see an opportunity, we have to go to the bank and ask to borrow some money. We want to be independent and be able to run after it if we see fit. And the third thing is, we also want the opportunity, and it's a strong ambition to pay a constant, attractive dividend to our shareholders. And back to the dividends, we at the beginning of the year, the aim was to pay 4 kroner per share in dividend in March 2020 at the AGM. But unfortunately, due to the COVID-19, this has been put on hold. It will be decided later this year whether to pay out an extraordinary dividend in the latter part of the year. And slide 6, please. A few highlights of the first quarter in 2020. Group revenue was up 4%, but I should say that this is largely due to some time differences. But more importantly, the operating profit grew with 38 million, up to 63 million. Bear in mind that there was some negative impact from the mid-March from the COVID-19. So this is not really factored into the Q1 numbers yet. But I'll get back to that when we talk a little bit about the expectations for the full year. What we also did in the first part of the year was that we sold off our actually 4th activity, North Media newspapers. The short story is that the newspapers had been loss-making for a number of years. At the beginning of the year, we expected we could make it profitable, or at least break even, by the end of 2021. But as the COVID-19 began to show its effect, we could see this was no longer realistic. So we decided to sell it. Initially, a smaller part of the business. In the end, we sold the whole part. So what was initially, we thought it should be a negative profit impact on the group for the whole year. It will now be a small profit of 5 to 6 million because of the sale. Slide 7, please. And going back to the COVID-19, I'm happy to say that we were able to maintain relatively stable operations during the crisis so far. Our first aim, and most importantly, we need to save or create a safe environment for our employees and make it safe for them to come to work every day, because it was very important to keep operations up at our 2 terminals in 2 parts of Denmark. And that enabled us to keep delivering the leaflets and maintaining the operation towards our customers. Most of the white-collar workers were from home. We have, for a couple of weeks now, been in a process of slowly coming back to office, little by little. And I'm happy also to say that we were not forced to do any layoffs during these activities, because in all, it was not easy. It has not been stable, but we were able to maintain our activities relatively normal during this COVID-19. And we have tried in the right side of the slide to illustrate how our different businesses have been impacted. Aktier, which provides jobs, of course, has been impacted because the number of vacant jobs went down during the COVID-19. FK Distribution also has seen some impact since the volume of leaflets has declined to some extent, while BeKey, for example, almost saw no impact, and BoligPortal, which I'll come back to in a minute, actually saw an increase or positive impact from the COVID-19 situation. Slide 8, please. So I'm a CFO, no presentation without some numbers, of course. I mentioned there was a revenue growth of 4%, but largely due to time differences, 275 million. But the large improvement in EBIT, 63 million, results in an operating margin of almost 23%. That's up quite significantly compared to last year. And that comes with several explanations. One, of course, is the time difference that I talked about. But more importantly, it has had a very positive impact on our bottom line that we in FK distribution went from 2 distributions per week to 1 distribution per week. And secondly, also, BoligPortal has also seen a very nice both improvement in bottom line and also in revenue growth. You could see that the operating margin in 2019 for the full year was around 14%. And going back now to the return on securities, this is a good illustration of how the return on external shares can go up and come down. I said a solid capital base is very important for us. 471 million actually we have. A lot of that has been put into external shares because right now it doesn't make sense to put it in as just liquidity in a bank and pay penalty interest for that. And we have been in shares for the past 10 years at least, and over the past 10 years our return on the shares has been more than 200 million. So we are long-term investors in the external shares. So we don't try to time the market going in when it's low, going out when it's high. We stay in. And the Q1 2020 is a good example of that, where the negative return was 45 million, where the positive return in Q1 2019 was 58 million. But I should then also mention that in April 2020, our positive return was 51 million. So we are back in positive for the full year now. But we stay in the market, and we believe that is a strong base for the company. Slide number 9. We now dive into the 3 businesses. FK Distribution, as I said, is by far the biggest activity we have. 223 million in revenue out of the 275 I mentioned for the group before. Strong growth in EBIT, as I mentioned, and that comes from the improvement as we have gone from 2 distributions per week to 1 distribution per week, as I mentioned before. Bear in mind that we saw some negative impact from the volume from the COVID-19 from the beginning of March, and that is not really factored into the numbers as of yet. But it's very, very difficult to see or know what it means as we go on for the rest of the year. One important thing to mention here is, and this is a good illustration of recognition of the way we handle these large volume businesses, as I mentioned before, because our packing facilities, we have 2 in Denmark. We have been practicing, you can say, on this since 2004. In 2004, we packed 7,000 households in a week. Now we pack 7,000 households in an hour. And several postal companies throughout Europe has been visiting us to see how are you doing this actually. And we have now been doing some test packing for Deutsche Post in the northern part, and we will see whether we can actually do some business with them later this year. Very interesting to see, and a good recognition of the efficiency and how we actually manage this FK distribution business. Slide 10, please. Online consists of BoligPortal, which is this connection with the apartments for rent, and Aktier, which is vacant jobs. And BoligPortal is by far the biggest activity in North Media Online, and they saw 18% revenue growth in Q1. I will be back to BoligPortal in a minute, just to mention that what we really have been working on in BoligPortal over the past couple of years is to expand the number of product lines. It used to be a profit or a business which mainly provided service to those that were the house hunters. But now we are also expanding the product line to the lessors, the people that are actually the tenant, the people that own the apartments. And we started that with doing digital contracts, doing digital moving in and moving out reports. And recently now in Q1, we have launched a digital showing of the apartments. So very nice growth and good momentum in BoligPortal. Ofir, more flat in the revenue development because of the reduction, as I said, in the number of free jobs. Our 50% owned activity lead supply, it's not part of the numbers here because we only own 50% and we don't have control. They have also seen some improvement in the CO traffic, but also saw some reduction in the loan activity because of the COVID-19. Slide 11, please. Just to briefly mention how I talked about how BoligPortal saw an increase in the demand during the COVID-19. And actually, both in the number of listed rental houses or homes and the visitors, we saw a 25% growth in the Q1. And this is, as I said, because of the COVID-19, because we see that. We saw it also in the financial crisis. When there's unrest, generally, there's increased interest for the rental homes. But also because of these, as I said, the new products that we have been launched during the latter part of last year and also during this year. Slide 12, please. The third activity, B-Key, is the activity that actually represents, or you could say is a little bit different than the others. But it's a good example of how we think in North Media. Because we say, if you have a problem, you have to solve it yourself. And B-Key is something we developed ourselves because FK Distribution had a problem getting into the locked doors in the larger cities. B-Key consists of this one, which is the home care business. This is installed in the inside of the door of the people that need home care from the municipality or the authorities. And this business, we now provide this service to 67 municipalities in Norway and Denmark, and it is now profitable. So what we are now investing in is this, installing this one in the locked stairwells or the main entrances where you have the buzzer. You install this one on the back side of it, and then we are able to, and this is where B-Key is very smart, with the net key, the cloud-based net key, you're able to distribute digital access to people that come by with their mobile phone via Bluetooth. Very safe, very easy, and no handling of physical keys that can also get lost or get stolen. So a good development also in B-Key. Slide 13. Outlook for the full year 2020. In the beginning of the year, we thought that we were able to, as I said, improve profits furthermore, up to between 160 and 190 million for the full year, where we made an EBIT of 160 million last year. But because of the COVID, we unfortunately had to suspend these guidance in March. What we now say in connection with Q1, in the beginning of the month, we believe that, and this is provided that the society develops slowly, positively, as we have seen. Recently, we believe that we can deliver an EBIT more or less on par with 2019, where, as I said, it was 160 million. And slide 14. To sum up, what it's really about for North Media is the continued value creation. As I said, we think long term. And our businesses that I've now been talking about for a short while, the FK Distribution, we do of course see a slight decline in the volume of leaflets little by little. We've done that for many years because of the digitalization. So FK Distribution is more of an optimization focus. And then of course a little small exciting opportunity with Deutsche Post, as I mentioned. While the other activities are more in a growth focus where we develop these activities. For example, also with some testing. It's a new product we test right now called daily.dk that FK has developed, It's a good example of how we test new activities within the digital area, also within FK. So what really, I think are the three main things you should remember from North Media is we have strong results, and we can continue to optimize the bottom line. We think we can deliver a solid result also from FK in the coming years. There are a number of digital activities where we see some growth potential, and we have a very solid capital base, which enables us to develop our business, to run for the opportunities that we see or we develop ourselves, and still also maintain attractive and stable return to our shareholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.
Slide 15.
Thank you very much for that, Kåre. Maybe a few questions from me. The first one is that the FK distribution is obviously the biggest part of North Media, both on revenue and EBIT. Could you talk about these physical commercial leaflets? Isn't that a dying market? And what about an ESG angle on handing out paper? What's your perspectives on that?
I think it's important to remember that the physical leaflet is by far the most effective media there is. I'm not saying that the volume is declining little by little. It has been doing so for the past 10 years. But the retail business needs the leaflets and use them very effectively. And also the consumers want it. And this very effective way we have constructed it in Denmark, where those that want it can get it. Those that don't want it, they don't get it. We have the no ads scheme where actually 50% of the Danes have said, I don't want it. But a part of those have actually said, I want some. I don't want all of it, but I want some. So today, 70% of the households get leaflets. Some get, 50% get all of it, and 20% get those that they want. So I think we have created a scheme here that in a very effective way gives people what they want, and it's a very, very important media for the retail business. That being said, of course, the digitalization is important and is happening, has been doing so for many years. And that's also why we are developing minetilbud.dk with some ways there, and trying and testing out new activities like I said, daily.dk to supplement this. Because I don't think this is a matter of black and white or either or. It's more a matter of both. Because the physical media does something and can do something, while the digital media can do other things. And we would like to be able to deliver both, giving the consumers and the retail different solutions to actually bring customers to our customers.
That's very clear. And in conjunction with that answer, you have around 70 million euros in capital resources versus a market cap of 120 million euros. You mentioned yourself that this gives some flexibility, some independence, and some dividend possibilities for North Media. But should this capital be deployed for FK distribution? You mentioned Deutsche Telekom, or are you trying to find a new leg in the business? Deutsche Post, or are you thinking about developing a new leg for the business where you divested the newspaper division recently?
What we are, as I said, we have different aims with the capital base. One is to secure independency. The other is to secure flexibility to develop our business. And that goes with developing all of our businesses. But what we develop within should be things and areas, activities where we have some knowledge that we can actually further expand these businesses than we could acquire. But that could be within FK, that could be within North Media Online, that could be within BK. So we have no focus on doing it. That would be a matter of what sort of makes the most sense and where we can actually add value to this, because we are in this for building the business. But we need to be able to see a way where we can actually add some value to this by the things that we do here, as I said, with the volume businesses. I don't see you, in going back to you when you asked Deutsche Post, there could be some small investments in terms of packing lines if we make an agreement with them. But that will not be, we're not talking about going into Deutschland with doing distribution. We are only talking about the packing for them. So the leaflets will be delivered to us, we pack it, and they will be taken to Germany. So if that can be done in a good way for Deutsche Post and for us, we could make it. But it will not be a big investment.
That's very clear, and we've hit 2:26. So thank you, Kåre, and all joining participants. If you should find more interest in the equity story, then we have research on our Introduce platform, and don't be afraid to reach out either to me or also to the company. Good afternoon to you, Kåre, and to all the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me have you.